Tonight, it may not be a heavy news week, but it will be a fun news week. Coming up on Comic Book Kenny. Hello. Here we are again on a Friday night talking about comic books, our hobby that we love. And with me, as always, every week, my partner in crime, Christopher. How are you, buddy?
Man, happy to be here. Happy to be plugged in. As I've been dealing with internet issues for like the last month, I'm really hoping to switch that up. But guys, as long as I'm in the door right now and you guys are seeing me and hearing me, then I think we're good to go.
Absolutely. You look great. You sound great. And we have a great show tonight. Now, as I said in our cold open, this is not a heavy news week, but that does not mean we are shorting you guys on an entertaining show. I will tell you what, we have our first interview of the year. Super excited to talk to Ryan Hetkowski from State of Comics. It's an amazing shop in Michigan. You guys will get some visuals of his store. It is. You ever walk into a store and you walk in and everything is just discombobulated, you don't know where to find anything, and it's just an absolute mess, and the person behind the counter is just atrocious? Think of that. That is the complete opposite of what State of Comics is. I got a good look today, and we have a special announcement, I think it's fair to say, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
So that is what we are looking forward to, but first and foremost, we are going to start with the news as we always do. Chris is kicking it off with some DC news we can all get behind. I'll say it again. DC news we can all get behind. I don't say that often, but it's true. Go for it, Chris. What do we got?
Yeah, seriously. And the storm that has been a lot of DC stuff. Guys, Batman animated sequel coming to HBO Max. All right, guys, strap in your seatbelts. Here we go. This is what we know. All right. Batman the Animated Series is finally headed over to HBO Max. That's a fact. But with that comes the rumors of a sequel movie emerging. All right, here's what we know about those rumors. Now, because we always like to take rumors with about 130 pounds of salt, right? But when it comes from the mouth of the myth and the legend, Kevin Smith, it's definitely worth attention. All right, so check this out. On Kevin Smith's Batman Beyond podcast, Smith and his co-host Mark Bernardin broke the rumor when Bernardin made this statement, guys. Quote, the rumor is that HBO Max is looking at making a Batman the Animated Series sequel that they want to continue, and they want to continue that forward. All right, so get this. Smith went on to piggyback this by making a claim stating this. He heard similar from very reliable people. All right, so take all that in. What do we know? We know that this is nothing but rumors right now, okay? We can't overlook that. But when you have these individuals and Kevin Smith saying, and again, quote, Kevin Smith, heard the same from very reliable individuals, that means money to me, guys. So I think I'm going to put my money in put the ball in the court of this being something that is absolutely legit, even though that's just my personal opinion based on the rumors that we have. If this happens, man.
Look, this isn't solid concrete news, but it's coming from a super fan who is in the industry. So you could take this with some, it's not concrete, maybe it's wet cement, I don't know, but it's something, again, we can all get behind. I mean, who did not love, if you're a comic book fan and you didn't like this series, I need to ask you why. I really do. It had everything in it. It was dark. It was gritty. It was something we hadn't seen in any sort of Batman incarnations, and it really put Batman on the map, and I think it brought in a ton of new fans in the early 90s, forever how long that run ran for. But also, Mask of the Phantasm is an awesome movie. And to be able to do a sequel from that whole universe side of things, oh man,
You read my mind on that. Mask of the Phantasm is
this is news to be excited about. Definitely.
Yeah, one of my favorite animated films of all time, Mask of the Phantasm. That includes like Disney movies and stuff. And what I hope for though, even if this is true, what I hope for is for Kevin Conroy to be coming back. And if there is a Joker, it better be Mark Hamill.
I mean, how could it not be? Yeah, absolutely. But come on, like Maybe they could incorporate elements of Batman Beyond into it too. I don't know. That would be cool. Anyways, this is the rare occasion where we have good DC news to report, right, Chris?
Yeah, there's nothing sour about this. The only thing sour about this would be if it was all BS and it didn't happen, right? I mean,
but I guarantee. But here's the deal: there's enough support within the fandom of DC, of Batman the Animated Series. Everybody would want to see this happen,
right?
But speaking of DC, we have more DC news. We're back to back DC news because this is kind of. I don't know how you guys all want to take this, but I'll take this on, Chris, and explain this what's going on here. So I don't know if you all remember fandom. It was kind of an amazing event because up until that point, we're probably 4 months into the pandemic, 5 months into the pandemic. DC announced some really cool stuff. They especially, most importantly, Black Adam with The Rock. That was the coolest thing that we saw. But they also talked more about what was going to be happening with the Justice League. How it would be a 4-episode series run on HBO Max. Yay, that's great. Hey, let's see Snyder's cut. Let's see what he always envisioned. We're all about that. Well, turns out, folks, that Zack Snyder just came out, and again, this is not a bad thing, but Zack Snyder just came out to say that the Justice League will be 4 hours long. Okay, so y'all may be asking, okay, this is whatever, apples to oranges. Who cares? We're gonna get to see Zack Snyder's vision. Yes. We will absolutely get to see Zack Snyder's vision. But the problem here is this goes along the lines of everything that DC is. They're sloppy, they're uncoordinated, and they're all over the place, right? It all comes down to communications. You need to be rock solid in your plan and your communications. And again, them stating that it was going to be a 4 1-hour series, fine, but it contradicts completely what Zack Snyder has just said. Hamada was saying, WB Films was saying one thing while DC Films president Hamada was saying one thing while the WB president CEO was saying another thing 2 weeks later about something completely unrelated to the Justice League. But guys, they are all over the place, and you need to be, as a corporation, be rock solid in your communications and move forward. Chris and I are big proponents. We want to see DC succeed. You saw how excited we were with the Batman Animated Series sequel, right? That being said, they don't have a very good track record. Their movies, obviously are hit or miss, and most of the time miss, and they have no kind of plan. They have no Kevin Feige. You never see a situation with Marvel where they say one thing and backtrack. Again, this shows that they are in disarray, and I'm kind of flabbergasted. My words aren't coming out the way I want them to. I'm mad because I want to see DC get it right, and I want us to be excited about all the characters in that universe we all grew up knowing and loving. And they're nowhere near that, guys. They are nowhere near that. Wonder Woman was kind of a flop. It was a flop, in my opinion. And I don't see a bright outlook for the DCEU. I'm ranting a bit now. I need to let Chris kind of interject here and give us his thoughts. Bring my words together because we both kind of agree on this.
Yeah, Jeff, and I know, like you said, a little bit of a rant. Your emotions are in this, I feel like that a lot when expressing myself. And I think when you strip the emotion out of it, though, the point is still there and it's still being made. This does not present itself as it should. It's that simple. I don't care about a 4-hour-long Justice League movie. I don't care if it was 3 hours or 4. I mean, we saw Endgame over 3 hours. So, a good movie is a good movie. We demanded a Justice League Snyder cut. Here it is. 4 hours. That might be a better thing. It might be better. And look, we're at home watching it, so we can pause it to go to the bathroom, right? So here's the problem, though, like you were trying to state, Jeff. It's not about it being a 4-hour-long movie or about it being a 4-episode miniseries. It's about those in charge not having the direction. And like you said, when have we heard Feige and team make a statement? Look, we all know that anything with business, when you bring it to the drawing board, it's a mess. We know things get scrapped all the time. But don't bring something to the public's attention until you know it is set in stone. And I think that's the big issue that you're talking about, Jeff, because it points to the trickle-down effect of everything else we're seeing in Wonder Woman. Now, let me talk about Wonder Woman briefly here. You called it a flop. We can look at that word and say, well, Jeff, I think you might be being a little harsh. Because here's what I think. For me, I was still entertained by that movie, but I think why you're calling it a flop is because DC probably needed to go into that movie. And even though they had so much to live up to with the first Wonder Woman movie, and look, it didn't need to be the first Wonder Woman movie, but they had to live up to something just because of everything else being in so much a disarray. We needed Wonder Woman 84 to be some kind of glue, a little bit of Spider-Man web holding everything together, you know, like Tobey Maguire on the train, just trying to, you know, it's like we needed to have at least that feeling. And I think we didn't. And I think that's what Jeff's trying to say. And I hear you. We need some glue here that's going to hold this stuff together to give us faith. And I'll end on this note. Look at how we were talking during fandom and at the end of it, and how excited we were about all these new things to come. I think for you and I, that excitement is literally, may I dare say, hanging by a thread. You know, it's just,
That's how I feel like, and again, we don't want to offend any DC fans because we're DC fans, but hanging by a thread is a good way. They're on thin ice. They haven't built up any kind of equity in our investment because they don't have a proven track record, right? In going up, up, up. They're usually like this. That was all right. Aquaman was all right. Wonder Woman was good. Shazam was good. That was fun. Okay, but here are all the other stinkers, you know. And then Wonder Woman, 1984, they needed that to move the DCEU forward. It didn't do anything. It just kind of in the middle, right? And like it didn't do anything either way, but DCEU needs to move forward. And again, going back to the original topic here, that is, they're now announcing it's a 4-hour movie. It is a big, people may not see this as a big deal, but it is. You made a major announcement at a major event saying it was 4 1-hour episodes. Now you're backtracking and saying it's a 4-hour movie. So that whole big event that you guys invested in and put time and effort towards to make this awesome announcement of something that people are expecting to see, you backtrack on that. And again, it just shows that's your track record, DC. That's your track record, WB. That's your track record, AT&T, of not knowing how to manage your properties correctly, not knowing how to give them the time, effort, and love that they actually need. And please prove me wrong in the future. Come out with some amazing stuff. Matt Reeves' Batman film looks amazing, but it's not in the DCEU. How does that fit? We're going off on a rant here because we do have some great MCU news. I think Chris has one more point left. It looks like it.
I want to say one more thing. And this is a question that maybe we'll be able to answer some months later. And it's, I'm really wondering if it would really do Warner Brothers better to completely trash the DCEU at this point and focus on getting quality like trilogies for like Matt Reeves' Batman, or and just letting them be their own thing and scrapping this, because I just don't know, and it might be, I don't know if it's salvageable. So but to what Jeff just said, prove me wrong. They do have a lot of things in the work, and we will see, hopefully sooner than later. And we'll go from there. And I hope we can maybe circle back around to this point. Is it doing them justice to try to hold on to the DCEU and starting this whole multiverse thing? Yeah. Or should they just say, you know what, we're just going to focus on making good, decent movies?
It starts, Batman's, Matt Reeves' Batman, we'll see how that goes. So anyways, but moving on, we're going to move away from DC and actually move into MCU. So Chris, what do we got in regards to talking about the MCU?
All right, guys, a lot of fun stuff with more Spider-Man. Spider-Man has been the talk of all talks, with all the speculation, everyone showing up. We got some set photos, guys, and we have confirmed that Spider-Man 3, or the third installment of the Homecoming franchise, will be set during Christmas. Now, I don't know if this was revamped, because it went from a summer release to a December release. So I think this is very, very fitting in the set pics. We see holiday decor We got Peter talking to MJ in a donut slash coffee shop type of place. You guys can see the decor in the windows there. So I think this is really, really cool. Like I said, I mean, if they just said, hey, let's set it in holiday time to fit the release, I think that's really really good thinking. It's really minor things, I think, that are gonna make this movie feel better for us since we've waited. And if we are able to go to the theaters in December and to get that some kind of holiday feel from this movie, I think that's totally awesome. My one concern is, will this movie get pushed back? And that's the concern I have. Not that, look, if it does get pushed back to February or March or something of 2020, fingers crossed that it doesn't. I mean, having it set during the holidays isn't going to ruin everything, but it's going to be a kind of a bummer. But I really hope that we can go sit in the movie theaters in December and catch that vibe with this film.
Guys, and we also have an exclusive here on Comic Book Canon. B. Schnur has found out what the title of the film is. It's Homesick for the Holidays. Brilliant. Brilliant. B. Schnur kicking back, drinking some Yinglings, watching Comic Book Canon. We appreciate you and love you. And that made me smile. I like it. Yeah, man, I'm loving these. I'm just loving seeing these pictures as production is moving along, right? Production companies are putting COVID protocols in place, allowing creators to create. We're in some really bad times here, guys. We're hopefully going to see some light in regards to COVID soon. It's really been a hard time for all of us. And these are these little things we harp on. And I just want to mention that Just Jared provided these pictures on the internet. Just Jared is the outlet. But as you can see, I don't know. It's just, you just see them. He's moving around maskless. You see the crew here with masks. But we're just happy to see that these films are in production and on track, hopefully, for the release they were scheduled for. That's all we can say. But on that topic, there is something that we have to report on. It's MCU news. It's just not easy to talk about. But here we are again, the Black Widow woes. That's right, everybody. It's looking like, it's looking like the Black Widow will be delayed once again from May 7th to who knows. And Variety reported on this. They're reporting on an overall film theater industry as a whole, saying that movies will probably be pushed back, alluding to the fact that the Black Widow will be delayed again. There's no official word from Disney just yet, but this affects a lot of things, right? This is a big deal because of how many times it has been pushed back. We as fans, we're dying for MCU content. Luckily, we have WandaVision, which we will talk about in the Q&A again. No spoilers, and for those who haven't seen it, make sure you leave. I'm just plugging the Q&A. But here's the thing: can Disney afford to push the Black Widow movie back even further? And I'm not talking just monetarily. I'm talking also with the fact that all of these films are reliant on each other, being in this interconnected universe, right? Now, we all know that Black Widow will be a prequel, but it will have ties to what is going on and what will happen in the future of the MCU. So it is not out of the question now. They were pretty steadfast, but it is not out of the question now for it to be released on Disney Plus if it has to be delayed again in similar fashion to the way Mulan was. And I know there are opinions out there. I know people have talked about this in the past, but I will absolutely pay the $30 to see this film. Chris.
I would too. I'd pay even more than that if I had to. I remember we talked about this the last time it was pushed back, which I think was a good 2 or 3 months ago now. And I think back then I said, this is it. They can't afford to do it. You kind of challenged me to say, oh, I know why, because we were talking about the protection clause that they signed for every movie from 2022 on. And you were like, but wait, Chris, this movie doesn't fall into that, because they made the protection clause for the actors to change their contracts if they had to release them to streaming, VOD. Black Widow wasn't in that contract, so that's where you said, I think that they're going to push this as much as they can because they don't have that clause. They don't want to lose the big $1 billion, earnings that they can most likely get by releasing it fully in the theaters. But and the one thing that we both agreed on was, okay, they can only do that up until it doesn't mess up the storyline.
Yeah.
Marvel, regardless of money, regardless of revenue, Marvel is going to be hit with a situation to say they have to release this or they're going to have to delay everything else just for that one film. Meaning, if if there's a Disney Plus series, an MCU Disney Plus series that takes place chronologically after that Black Widow set up, they're going to have to push that back. So are they willing to push all that back just for one film? So, and you also got to look at the summer slate. You got Shang-Chi coming in July, at least right now. So it almost automatically, if Black Widow's getting pushed back, Shang-Chi's getting pushed back.
Yeah. I mean, again, we don't know how this, it's unique in the fact that this is a prequel, right? It's unique in that fact, and they probably had some leeway to that respect. But there are characters in here that are going to live on. Taskmaster is a potential to live on as a villain in the MCU. Red Guardian could live on. And there will be, as all reports indicate, there will be a new Black Widow that they're going to want incorporated, who is already confirmed that she will be in the Hawkeye TV series.
Yep.
So,
there you go.
Guys, we're at the point now where I don't think they can afford to keep holding this movie back from us, because they're going to have to let us see it so we can, so they can also start showing us all of their other projects too. So,
well, let's real quick. Let's look at does MCU doesn't have any films between Shang-Chi and Eternals, which is right now scheduled for July and November, right?
So you had May, July, and November.
Right. Now I know that they have Disney Plus, the Loki show comes out in June, I believe.
Yeah.
And that'll probably run through August. And then I think they have something right after that. That doesn't really probably matter in terms of keeping it on schedule. I would say this. This is what I'm going to put my hypothesis out there. I think that they can push back Black Widow by 2 months at the most, which would mean it would come out in July. It would get maybe that Shang-Chi date, which means they would have to push back Shang-Chi at least a month, maybe two, because they don't really want to, even if movie theaters are opening, you don't want to take away the success from one film to have it go up against your own competitor, right? So they're going to have to push back Shang-Chi to like a September release, which gives it 2 months from Eternals. That's as much as they can do. If they have to push it, if there's any further delays past that 2 month pushback, I'm going to say video on demand and open it in movie theaters that are currently open at the time.
Absolutely. Again, we're going to have to see how this plays out. It's really unfortunate. We're kind of used to this at this point. However, we're also really looking forward to what the MCU has to offer. But again, Chris and I have been saying this for the past 6 months. There will be a floodgate of content. It'll be DC, it'll be Marvel, it'll be Independence. They're all coming, guys. They're all coming. But we just have to be patient a little bit longer. That is our news for this week. Some fun stuff and some not so fun stuff, but we covered all the news that we had fit to print this week. That's somebody else's quote. I don't think we can say that, Chris. But anyways, moving on. We are very excited to have our first interview of this new year, 2021. An amazing comic book shop called State of Comics in Michigan, right outside, I believe is Ann Arbor, right outside of Detroit. We have shop owner, Ryan Hetkowski, joining us today for our very first interview of the year. We're going to talk some fun stuff with Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
What's up?
Hey, Ryan.
Happy to have you on here. Your store, again, I think we'll get a little tour a little bit later. We're going to get into an interview here, but it looks amazing. I told you guys, it is just immaculate. Look at how beautiful that shop is, how organized and clean, and just the beautiful wood floors. Everything's shining and sparkly. Kudos to you, Ryan. We're looking forward to talking more about your shop right now. Chris, this is your interview. How about you just take it away? Go for it.
Right on. Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I need to let the audience know a little backstory here. So how I came to know Ryan. I, as I always do, and I got my little packages from my mail subscription, Marvel subscription by mail. So I didn't get two books earlier on in 2020. And they said that they mailed them out. They said that they even mailed them out again, and I never received them. And then they said, oh, well, we can't mail them out again. And I'm like, what? I posted in a Facebook comic book group saying, hey, guys, have you ever, experienced something like this? Ryan was nice enough to hit me up and said, dude, you know what? I own a shop. I'm going to hook you up with your books. And I was like blown away, the humility. So Ryan, let that right there be a testament to, not only you as a person, but what you bring to the table in this community and as a shop owner. So I want to, just welcome you here today. Yeah. And so first off, and we are, we're going to ask you some questions. We're going to talk about some nice juicy stuff. And then we'll get a little tour of the store. But let's just start off by letting your audience know a little bit about you, what got you into comics and how that led you to owning your own comic book store.
Well, I was always a huge pop culture nerd when I was a kid. I played with G.I. Joes. I had all the X-Men comics, and I still swear to this day I had a Uncanny 266 that I treasured, and I'm pretty sure my mom sold it at a garage sale for $0.25 when I was a teenager and stopped caring for a while about the stuff. And I guess probably about 8 years ago, I kind of got hooked back into pop culture with the MCU and some of the DC movies. And then I got hooked into these little things. And I remember specifically one year at Christmas, my wife bought me about 8 of them. And that January, I had 152. So it grew pretty quick. And then I got sucked back into comics again. And I started flipping pops. And it just trickled from there. It was one of those things where I was just like, I was running a screen printing business, and I had extra space, and I wanted to start selling pops because it was just incredible. Like, you go to a wall, it's not the same anymore, but you go to a Walgreens and you buy a $10.99 pop, and then it was going for $25. I mean, it is a little bit like that with convention stuff, but not your normal exclusives. And I got sucked back in, was literally buying every single issue of Rebirth of every single title, and then trimming them. I was like 5 issues in. I was like, all right, I'm going to drop Batgirl. It's not that good. All right, I'll keep Detective and stuff. And then it just kind of happened, man. I got a warehouse for the screen printing business, which I used an office to sell the pops. And I literally launched the business with like $200, which covered shipping boxes and tape. And I did pre-orders on pops. And then it just grew. After about 6 months, we moved into a shop, which we're no longer in. It was next door to where we are right now. And ironically enough, it almost like every time I was about to have a kid, some big major turn of event happened with the shop. I opened the shop. My son was how old was he? He's 7 now. He was 3. And
okay. So that's about what was it, 2017 when you opened the first brick and mortar location?
Yep. So it was October. So we started it in February 2017, and it was going so well that in October of 2017, we opened a 1,900 square foot building in Plymouth. Super awesome downtown area, but very small. It's not your typical large downtown area. The community is amazing. They're super supportive. They're very happy to get something younger in because a lot of it's just restaurants and like home decor stores. But then things just kind of amped up. Second kid came, and then by the time the third kid was about to come, we moved into this building, which is 6,500 total square feet, 2 weeks before my daughter was born. So it was a crazy September.
Blessings. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it just kind of grew and grew. And, COVID, it was just one of those things where it was like, man, we do this or we don't.
Right. Well, let me talk a little bit about that, because I think that's very imperative. Now, you just referenced the fact that you opened a massive 65,000 right square foot,
6,500.
Sorry, 6,500, not that massive. 6,500 square foot shop. As you guys can see in the background, it's pretty massive. You did this during COVID, so talk to me a little bit about your experience. Going into 2020. You're running your business. You've been in business for a few years now. You're having great success. How did COVID initially affect your business? And just tell me about those first few months. And what I mean, were you stressed out, figuring out, okay, how am I going to do this, or did it not skip a beat? Tell me a little bit about how that felt like early on.
Well, we went into 2020. 2020 started off bad. Sales weren't good. We weren't having a lot of stuff come in, good books that we could, grails and stuff such. So it was rough. And once COVID hit, I kind of prepared. And, I talked to my landlord and everything ahead of time. And, it was scary. The first week of COVID, I had a panic attack. And I remember, my wife will remember this, I could not be at home the entire first week of COVID because I couldn't sit still. I went from working 12, 14 hours a day to sitting idle, and it was disturbing. So after that week, I came back to my store and I tore every single book off the wall, shoved them in. Well, I didn't shove them in, but, put them into comic boxes, and I took everything home. I took 16 short boxes home, and every night me and my wife did auctions on Facebook Live. Then I was lucky enough, everyone probably knows who Sean is from Comics Elite. I was lucky enough to meet him, and I don't work with his group anymore as far as exclusives, but, dude was a life changer. I'll give him that credit. Every hard turn I had, I went to him and he gave me good advice. And we started selling exclusives, and it took off. There wasn't new books, so people needed something. So they were buying all these new covers, and this wasn't Marvel stuff, because obviously those publishers weren't doing anything. A lot of it was pre-order stuff.
So this is specifically during the Diamond shutdown now. So now you're evolving and figuring how to do things out. That's when the exclusives came in to provide that other source of revenue.
Yep. And we just we grinded. I bought a collection, and we went through it. We priced it. We do an auction, on the boxes as we get them. And then when right before we reopened, we started, heavily buying stuff, and, it was stressful with DC. Just trying to figure out what we were going to do. I remember the first week books came out. We were in Michigan. I couldn't even open. I wasn't technically even allowed to be at my business. So the box got rejected and went back to UCS. And I swear to this day, I still haven't got a credit for those books, by the way, which isn't surprising, but it was crazy. August came. I was lucky enough. I did get some government help. I was able to get, the pandemic unemployment during the shutdown. So, I was super lucky, which they tried to make me pay back, which was a nightmare, but got taken care of. Yeah, that was a frightening day, opening up my phone like, oh, you owe $12,000 to the government. Okay. Well, there goes my life. But anyways, I got the EIDL. And I put it to work. I was lucky enough to get that. I put it to work. We bought a massive collection. It was like 64 short boxes and I think 54 long boxes. And we just went to work. We went to work and we worked hard. And then I don't know. I guess I was lucky. I was very, very lucky. And I guess I got lucky off other people's misfortunes. The dance studio was behind 3 months in rent, and their lease was expiring in November, so they didn't even have time to spread the rent out to make up for it. And so we took over the lease and ended up with this giant.
Okay, and that leads me to the next question. So that's where you're at right now. So that space recently became available. So
Yep. So we
and,
moved in here Labor Day.
and how long have you been? What month did you open up there?
We moved into here Labor Day, and it's funny too because we didn't even actually close ever. We bought some of these fixtures, and one of my workers showed up on like a Friday night at 7. And I was like, well, we're kind of halfway there. You want to just stay till like 1 and just move everything? And we opened the next day in the new location and just moved everything over all weekend.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, man. I remember seeing you posting that on Facebook too, and just that's amazing. And I'm so happy for you when you moved in there. So, but let's now, with everything kind of, and I don't want to say getting back to normal, but I mean, you got books coming every Wednesday now. You got foot traffic in the store. I don't know if you're limited capacity and stuff, but so are you seeing now a pickup in business, and do you contribute that to, say, the evolution that you needed to make in order to get to where you're at? Or do you think that whatever is supporting you right now is possibly temporary due to COVID? Does that make sense? So do you feel like the state of business for State of Comics right now is something that is we're going back to normal, or this is something that's going on specifically because of COVID? Maybe people aren't spending money going to the movie theaters. They're not going out to eat at restaurants. So, you're seeing more customers now coming in to spend that money on comic books.
it's funny because I was actually talking to someone about this today, and I mean, it's quite a few different things. So when we shut down for COVID, it was one of those things where we had to make adjustments, and if we didn't make the adjustments, we were gonna go under, because it wasn't a good market, and we made the necessary adjustments then to stay in business, to grow the business. We started carrying exclusive, which we didn't carry. My back wall of Grails was embarrassing before COVID, and we just upped the ante. We changed a lot of things about how we run our business. I grew as a business person, I think, big time. But I think about that every day. And I think one of the things that we're focusing on right now is exactly what you asked, is when things go back to normal, are things going to slow down? So what we're doing right now is we're taking everything we can and we're growing in every single corner we can. We just added Warhammer. We just added arcade games. We're leasing out the cafe to a bubble tea spot. We're buying up collections. We're going to start selling used video games. So what we're trying to accomplish is that our super good days now will be our slow days when things go back to normal. So,
awesome,
it's rough though. I mean, it's hard. It's a lot of work, but we want to be a one-stop shop, and there really isn't anything. There's one other shop that's been around for like 20 years in the area that kind of, I mean, they're the place to go. They got AF-15 signed by Stan Lee and stuff.
Right.
But it's they're old.
I just want to say, I think you guys are definitely, to talk about evolution, and I think what you're doing is speaking to the industry as a whole. You got something there for everyone. There are a couple things I want to dive into some juicy talk here real quick. I do want to talk a little bit about your exclusives, and I want to let you talk about some things that you got coming up, going on for your store. But before we get into those things, I want to talk with you about a really, really controversial topic that is very, very important to a lot of collectors right now. I see it almost every day in Facebook forums, and people are talking about on YouTube. You got everyone that is either extremely on this side or this side of this argument, and that's DC and the state of DC Comics. Now, we know that during the pandemic, DC said, we're leaving Diamond. They went to Lunar. They went with sister company of Midtown and Lunar. They dropped Midtown. Now I believe they're specifically with Lunar. But we know that there's been a lot of cuts, a lot of revamping the structure of how they're doing their day-to-day operations within the corporation. And we know a lot of people have been laid off. We know too that there's going to be some cuts in their publications and whatnot. A lot of people are calling this total doom.
All right. I'll finish this sentence right here. A lot of people are calling it total doom and gloom. So what do you figure as we get Chris back online? What are your thoughts on the state of DC Comics overall is basically what Chris was getting at.
As a retailer, it's excellent. Sales are fantastic. They're triple they were before COVID. I think they're doing great. There's some stories hit or miss. There's going to be your conservative fan base that don't want your, transgender Flash and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. And, they're trying to target an additional market as well. They're doing the same thing Marvel did. I think it's great if you want to hit all the markets. I think that they can learn something from what Marvel did.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't have a transgender Flash and get rid of Barry Allen. Barry Allen needs to be there for your longtime fans. Now, if you want to create that character, I think that's fantastic. It is what it is. It doesn't bother me. But I think that they need to make sure that they don't alienate their fan base, which is something that I made a point to do as a store. There was a ton of stores locally who were like, well, we're done with DC. And then there was a ton of stores nationwide that were just, screw this crap. I'm done with DC. And, here was my thing is, as a retailer, as a business person, as a human being, you can't complain that DC is alienating their retailers and then alienate your customers by no longer carrying DC. It doesn't make any sense. So I kept carrying DC because welcome back. I didn't want to do what DC did to retailer or what a lot of retailers thought they were doing to my customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept carrying them, and again, I think I won that deal, and I preyed on a lot of misfortune of other shops but not really misfortune, but they looked at it as misfortune. They're like, we're no longer going to carry DC. And so we were like, well, we're going to still carry it. And so we got all their customers. There was a shop that decided to totally shut down New Comics completely. And we were cool with the shop. So they sent everyone to us. So we had like a weekend where 15 people opened up pull lists. And it was crazy because, with final order cutoff and stuff, if you don't have 15 shelf copies and everyone puts that book on their pull list, you can't pull it the following week, So it's stressful getting into that. But, I think DC's doing great. I think that the layoffs is perfectly normal for any corporate company in America. I think that they're going to, it happened to my brother right after he quit. He was working at Bye Bye Baby. And I was like, and he started talking about, I'm like, they're going to do what DC just did. And they're going to fire a bunch of their high paid employees and hire in young people at smaller wages. Lo and behold, right after he left, he's like, yeah, they fired everyone. And they brought a bunch of new people in. Funko did the same exact thing. They furloughed 500 employees and then brought in a bunch of people right after COVID. So
Ryan, let's talk about that. Let's focus on that because I get, you're talking about the storylines, what they need to do with the stories to keep fans interested and whatnot. But let's talk about the business side of things. And this is what I don't think a lot of collectors and your everyday people really understand. So as a businessman, coming from a business perspective, what do you see behind the decisions of this? You just brought up, firing folks that have been there for a long time. Before I let you answer this question, I want to bring up one thing for the viewers to pay attention to. That is that the issue with quality within the comics, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the art, whether it's not getting enough for your money, for your $3.99, your $4.99 a book, that's been going on for years, right? So when you get fans saying we don't like the quality, we don't like the content, I'm not paying this much for it, And then DC says, okay, we're gonna get rid of all these people that you're essentially complaining about. We're gonna save money, we're gonna streamline, and we're gonna get fresh artists, fresh writers, whatever, people that are working in the back end that are gonna cost us less so we can have less overhead and put maybe more revenue and funding in other places. Do you see that as a positive thing? Because I see the same people that are complaining about what DC was doing in years past, now complaining about, what are you doing cutting these titles? What are you doing firing these overpaid people that I was yelling at 2 years ago for writing bad stories and producing crap art? Like, how do you see that aspect of it?
Well, I mean, you're always going to have those people. Always. I don't think that a time will ever exist where people aren't going to complain. But I mean, DC made it very, very, very clear, or rather AT&T made it very clear that what we are going to be doing is we're going to be hiring writers from Hollywood to write our comics so that we can transition those comics to TV and movie. And that's what they're doing. And it's what they're doing. And, you know, I think one of the things I touched on is a lot of people are mad about, for example, Tim Fox being Batman. People are mad at that. People are mad that there's, I've had customers literally say, I don't want to buy The Flash. As soon as I heard about Transgender Flash, I decided I didn't want to read it. But they're going and seeing every MCU movie. I don't get it, because everything DC is doing and has done is exactly what Marvel has done, is doing. And people hate on DC for everything they do. And I don't understand it.
Well, I've said this too. Marvel's been doing this similar restructuring, but nobody's talking about it like they're talking about DC. But I will say, me and Jeff talked about this a little in the past on doing the news. Do you feel like people are more vocal with the comic side of things with DC simply because I think more of us can agree that what Warner Brothers has done with the film franchises hasn't even stood even close to being what Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios has done with their films.
But does it need to be? I mean,
right? I don't think so. And that's a good point. And not to cut you off, but I do see them as separate things right now. So I guess the question is: are people looking at their disappointment with the DCEU and the films, and then seeing what DC's doing in the comic book side of it, and then just kind of carrying that over and allowing it to tarnish, this angry, upset, kind of jump to conclusions things with what's going on in their decision making with the comics? Because to be honest, and I'll let you jump back in here, I actually think it's going to be a bit of a longer process, but I actually think the restructuring that under AT&T, what they're doing with the comic books, I think that's eventually going to trickle in to Warner Brothers, DCEU, or film franchises, and it's eventually going to help them be more consistent and have better quality films produced.
Well, what I wish AT&T would do, and I've been saying this since day one, because as a comic book store owner, this pisses me off to no end. The fact that there is not a comic shop locator ad at the end of every comic book movie. There should be a comic shop locator ad at every single movie, because I understand that these companies want to make money, and when you're making a movie, you're making billions of dollars. When you're making comics, you're not. But fundamentally, we should be pushing the youth towards the comics, not to movies, but towards the comics. And I mean, they'll eventually come together. And that was one of the big things that where we are as a business for our location is that we're in a I guess relatively high income area, $80,000-$85,000 average income, and we want, like, I don't target comic book readers. I don't target Funko Pop collectors. We want to target the people who don't do that stuff. I want to push reading and stuff, but I'm getting off track now. DC stuff,
You're not. I just want to interrupt and jump in on this. You brought up a very good point that people should be pushing the comic books even more, because that's the fertile ground that will build even further this audience. And I just have to point out, like, when you said that, I was out loud. I was like, good point.
That's what AT&T is doing. They're bringing in Hollywood to write those comic books so they can turn those comic books in. I don't think they necessarily need to do that because they've literally built a multi-billion-dollar industry. You know, DC Comics is built on these stories. We don't need new ones, but it's Hollywood.
Yeah. But it goes to like what Marvel's doing. Kevin Feige's in charge of the comic books too now. And when you see something big happen in comic books where they're pushing a character that hasn't been around for a while, like the comic fan and MCU fan is just like, maybe this is going to translate to film. That's why they're pushing this right now.
I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but I can't think who played Jim Halpert in The Office. What's his name again?
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski, who was fantastic in that Amazon show, by the way.
Right,
Yes. When the push happened for him to be Mr. Fantastic, if you go back and look, it was War of the Realms. I want to say it was War of the Realms 4. Mr. Fantastic, it's a spitting image.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I couldn't even believe it. I was like they're trying to do that, you know, and I think that's what DC's eventually going to do. But DC just gets so much slack. And I think a lot of that is that Warner Brothers as a company doesn't confront a single rumor. And I was talking to Dustin from DC about this, and I'm just like, we didn't even know if Ben Affleck was going to be Batman for like a year, is Henry Cavill Superman? Because I don't know.
Exactly. And this goes to exactly what we're talking about in the news. This is how frustrated Chris and I get about the DCEU. We want them to succeed, but they don't have a plan. They don't know what's going on. They are disjointed in every possible way. And they don't communicate. I think it's exactly what you said. They don't communicate. They don't have to tell us everything. They don't have to show us all their cars, but they have to kind of let us know that as fans that there's a plan going on so we can believe in what you're doing. Because again, I
think too that a lot of the problem is Kevin Feige kind of set the standard, and I don't think that we need a DCEU the way that we have an MCU. I don't think we need a Batman film, then a Superman film, then a Wonder Woman film, then a Justice League film. I think they can do what they do with the animated films because they're amazing. They can just do a Justice League movie and just do it right. Like we don't need a Batman backstory. We don't need it anymore. We really don't. And we really don't need Superman is the oldest superhero in history. We don't need his backstory anymore. We don't need to know that he's an alien that crash landed and all that. We don't. And we don't. Maybe we do need Wonder Woman's because it's not as popular as Batman and Superman, but they could have taken Wonder Woman, the movie, and built on that.
Yeah.
And didn't. But
I hear you, man.
But
hey, let's
point out Bishner's comment real quick. We don't need plans. We just need faith.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that now.
Just cast the characters and just make a movie. We have all the stories. I don't understand why. I don't know, man. Take Justice League War and just make it live action instead of animation. That would be good enough, you know. And they had an opportunity too to do Villains United. And restructure everything. It was either Villains United or Day of Vengeance. It's been a while since I've read those two, but they could have done Suicide Squad and made Alexander Luthor Jr. or whatever his name is that played him be Alexander Luthor Jr. pretending to be Lex and introduce Black Adam who got stabbed in the back, and that could have been Suicide Squad, would have brought Deathstroke in, and then they could have went into a crisis. They could have went into Flashpoint and reset everything. It's all there. They just
for
don't.
Sure. That's that discombobulation, man. Let me just ask you. We'll wrap up on DC because I think we got folks that really want to see your store. They want to hear about what's going on with your store. But let me ask you one final question regarding this issue. I think I personally think that the comic book future of DC is going to be more healthy than it's been over the last 10 years. That's my opinion. So let me ask you this final question regarding DC. Where do you see, and we're not talking about anything Warner Brothers is doing or DCEU. We're talking about specifically comic books. Where do you see DC Comics in 5 years?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. one of the biggest things with Future State that I think a lot of people overlooked is, I mean, it's just a bundle of speculation. Like they literally just put out 2 months worth of speculation books, because you got to realize that at some point in the DC timeline, we're going to hit these spots in Future State. And like even in Dark Detective, for example, which was way too soon to find out that Bruce Wayne's not dead, by the way. Spoiler alert. It tied in directly with what was going on in Detective today. And so, I mean, obviously, like Immortal Wonder Woman, it's going to be a long time before we get there, being that it was set at the end of time. But, you know, some of these other characters, we're going to get there, whether it be a year from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, unless DC decides to completely change everything, which is possible. But, you know, we're going to hit those timelines, and these things are going to happen. And as long as they can, you know, get good writers, I think they'll be in good shape. And the stuff in March is shaping up to be pretty solid, in my opinion. And you know,
what about floppy issues, single issues, trade paperbacks, or digital? Or are we still, you know,
5% of DC sales are digital. That came straight from DC. They're not going digital. They're not going digital.
Yep, I'm with
trade
you on
paperbacks. I could see them maybe doing like some straight to trade stuff, but it's going to be like stuff like Killing Joke, you know, one shot stuff. That's
right. Yes.
But even then, like,
I'm with you.
There's too much money. There's too much money in it. As much as people say they don't make money, there's too much money in it. And I don't. They're not going to stray away from floppies. It's just not going to happen.
I really, you know, Ryan, I know you're just one man. I know you're just one dude, you know, but, you know, look, you're in the thick of it. You're running the shop. You're doing your thing. And I want everyone watching to just hear what he just said. And you know what? I hope that we can come back here in 5 years and bring you back on it. We're going to revisit it. But, man, thank you for diving into all that DC stuff. But come on, let's give these viewers some State of Comics goodness. So why don't you give us a quick little tour? Let us get an idea of what it feels like to be in that amazing 6,500 square foot shop. Once we do that, then we'll talk about some things that they can look out for.
Okay. I guess I'll just start at the front. It's a little bit dark. We're closed. So, but when you walk in, I guess I could turn the light on. So we got, you walk in, it's a little entranceway. We got some crane games and stuff. Nothing crazy. This is where the bubble tea spot's going to go in, which is going to be real cool.
Nice.
Got the awesome SOC. This is 3D. So we're going to LED behind it, which is going to be super cool. When you first walk in, the first thing you hit is you get your exclusives. You get some older Silver Age issues, all your slabs, all the stuff that's not on the wall. Then you run into the register. So we're going to be doing some construction soon. This is all stuff that needs to go into inventory on our site. Just pop, so ignore that. That's our back wall with some good slabs and stuff. We have so many Funko Pops, it's not even funny. So then we got our cases. Still very, very much a work in progress. Some cool banners, shirts. We just got a bunch of new fixtures, so I'm kind of psyched about that. This is our trade paperback section. It's not huge. Maybe they'll change if DC stops printing floppies. So this is very much a work in progress. This was our shipping room up until like 3 weeks ago. We wanted to open it up and give everyone more space. Huge collection of back issues. We got 3 racks, all the Marvel stuff, top and bottom. Again, like I said, we have tons of pops. So it's pretty big space. We got figures. We just it's also clean because we just rearranged everything. We all just licensed everything kind of out. So we have like our Deadpool stuff, X-Men, etc. And then we have, you know, our current running series are all on these racks right here. And then this is our new this week wall. And that's pretty much it.
Beautiful, man.
So nice
Loving
and
it.
clean.
I love this. I love your shop. I know we said it in the before we went live, but I absolutely love this shop. The bearded one wishes he was within 4 hours of where you are. It's again, Bishner saw my face. Like I hit a button by accident. And I came in and I was like, I didn't mean that. But my gosh, I love your shop, and you got some fans in here too, man. Somebody orders from you too. I think it's P. Keel. I'll bring that comment up. But I have there's a good question from Serge Henderson. He wants to know how you go about owning he wants to know how to go about owning his own comic book business and where should he start?
Ain't that a loaded question?
like legitimately, you want to get an LLC. That's going to be your first step. Opening a diamond account, you got to have minimum stuff like that. Your best bet is honestly to have capital. I would say no less than 50 to 100,000. Or you can start online in your own home, buy books, eBay, flip book, buy them cheap, stack on them, flip them, and just kind of grow from there. And just, one of the things that for the first time ever in my career of running this store is 2021, I'm finally taking a salary. I haven't done that for the first 3 years. I sunk every dime back into this place, and until we could afford to actually take money out. So my wife was lucky enough that she was able to quit her job in July. She worked full time for the first 3.5 years we were open. So I mean, not that that's extraordinary or anything, but
no, but it's just the fact that you can leave her job.
You just gotta keep putting back in and keep putting back in, because that's what it's all about. It's all about growing, and I think that's one of the biggest problems in comics today. I remember when Steve Jeppy did the interview during COVID, and he was on with a couple of guys, and I'm just like, why is he talking to these comic shops? I'm like, these are all strictly brick and mortar shops. I'm like, this is not the comic book market anymore. If it's 2021, you've had 21 years to get online. If you're not online as a comic shop, I don't know how you're doing it.
And how about the ones that are online that don't really have an intuitive website as well, which we see a lot too, which is just like, how is what? Well,
there's a couple guys too, like Spencer, who's a good buddy of mine from Comics Kingdom of Canada. He doesn't have I don't think he has a store, and he crushes it, man. His live shows are insane. Like, I'm just watching him just rip through books because people are buying so fast, and that's something you can do. I mean, the best place you can start is you find some books that you want to sell and just do Facebook Lives and just stash away capital until you can afford or feel comfortable to get a building, get fixtures, which is the most expensive thing, and open. But the biggest mistake I'll tell you is that you have to fail, you have to make mistakes, and you have to learn from those. One of the biggest growth problems that we had was when we moved in here and people were pre-ordering stuff with in-stock items and storing those in-stock items until the pre-orders came was a huge problem for us because we didn't have a system. So it was so crazy because once we got in here, it was all about all these processes and stuff, and that stuff's super important. Shopify is your best friend for sure. Super easy too. Anyone can do it. So that would be my, at least a little bit of advice.
Yeah, no, that's all great advice. So I hope to see Serge now that you got all that advice. I'm giving you 3 months to get your doors open to your shop. 3 months. All right.
3
and
months.
Make sure you have that website up because I'm going to be looking. I want to make an order.
Now, this has been an amazing interview, but there's some really cool news you want to kind of share with everybody here that we would love for you. This is like a CBC, a Comic Book Canon exclusive, the first one ever, and we are excited to have you kind of announce this to the world on our show. So we're super happy. Tell us what's going on with something going on with your shop here.
So we are on the verge of announcing our first ever DC exclusive. Very excited. It is Joker #1. I can't show images, but be on the lookout. We're upon the end of and finalizing the cover, which I actually just saw. It's just awaiting approval. Joker #1, Batman 251 homage by the man himself, Neil Adams. So super excited about that.
That is amazing right there. So guys, stateofcomics.com. Keep an eye out for that. When can we see that being out for pre-sale or however you go about doing that?
As soon as DC tells me, I'm putting it right up.
That's so cool, man.
Berserker,
that is so cool.
Our Berserker #1, it was like I got an email. It was like, here's your finalized file. And I was like, upload, sell, send out blast email, post on social, it's live. You know, like I've never been one of the guys who's like, let's do a 2-day reveal and you know, let people simmer on it and forget about it. You know, like I want to go live and people can buy it right when they see it. You know,
that's freaking awesome, man.
So
like,
I'm excited.
Especially getting Neil Adams to homage his own cover. That's a classic cover to begin with. And having the man who did it himself, it's like
right. I wish I had pictures of my face when I got the email. I'm pretty sure I ran around my shop like a little girl screaming, ah!
That's fantastic. That is.
And when I saw it, I was like, guys, everyone, hurry to my computer now.
That's exciting.
I'm excited. It looks fantastic too. So
yeah, we're gonna. Well, hey, as soon as we find out, let us know when that goes up for sale. We will absolutely push it on here because that is something we're excited to see as well. Given that we are fans too. And
Chris got a sneak. He knows.
Yes.
It will probably be worth everybody's while once we get a actual image for to share with everybody, and we'll be happy to share that here.
And I have some other news that maybe no one has really shared yet.
Go for it.
If you guys know this, but Berserker #1 has a 1 in 1,000 that was recently announced by John Boy Myers, and it is signed by Keanu himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know
1 in 1,000
about that, but it is a thing. It is a thing.
A 1 in 1,000 signed by Keanu, done by John Boy. That is a recipe for like absolute insanity in the secondary market right there.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the print run on that book now.
Yeah, 1 in 1,000 is kind of insane. Holy cow! All right,
exciting. So,
well, we really appreciate.
Did you want to bring? Here. Is there a you got a Funko event coming up as well?
Oh, well, Funko's just got Funko Fair going on. So typically they do Toy Fair, London, Toy Fair, New York, but with COVID, obviously those aren't happening. So all of this past week and next week, Funko Fair, they're announcing a bunch of new licenses. They've done NBA Legends, which I'm super amped on because we're getting Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Isaiah Thomas. We're getting the answer. I'm super amped about that.
I'm a Philly fan. I have the Sixers on right here, by the way.
Nice.
So,
and then, well, I'm a Pistons fan, unfortunately.
Of course.
I'm sure you know how that's going. And then, we got a bunch of new Deadpools. There's a Dino pool, which is super cool. Some Star Wars stuff like that. And then next week, I know they're announcing a Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, White Men Can't Jump.
Oh, get out of here.
A bunch of other random stuff. I know there's some Wonder Woman 80th stuff coming too. So pretty cool. Every day they're doing like 10 announcements and stuff. So it's pretty cool. If you're a Funko fan, definitely worth it. So
nice. Ryan, man, really, really appreciate you coming on, man, and finally getting face to face and getting a chance to talk with you. I really hope that one day I could be walking in that building right there, man, because you got something going on. You really do. And I appreciate, the positive energy, the attitude, the hard work ethic, and all that you bring to the hobby as a fan and as a shop owner. And I personally wish nothing but success for you. I've been making purchases on your website basically every month now. So yeah, guys, stateofcomics.com. Check it out. You can get pre-orders at discounted costs, exclusives. So if you have not checked out stateofcomics.com yet, guys, you have to do it. put it in your favorites, bookmark it. You're missing out. Go support a real good dude doing real good things. Really beating the odds in this COVID age.
Yeah.
So Ryan, again, man,
Don't make me get
thank
emotional.
you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely. And anytime you want to come back to announce any more exclusive, you are more than welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Chris knows. He sees me in the groups. I love talking about the state of the industry and stuff. And so I'm always game. So.
Oh, by the way, Serge Henderson, the guy that asked you about how to start his own shop, he's from Detroit. So
nice.
It looks like he's a Pistons fan as well. So
I feel his pain too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Ryan. We wish you the absolute best, and we will definitely be in touch.
All right, sounds good, man. Have a good night.
Take care.
Yep.
Brian.
Man, now that was a great interview. That went way longer than I thought it would, but it was worth every minute it went over. Like it was and I told you guys, that is a shop. That is one of those shops you walk into, you just are like, this is perfection. Like this is the way it's set up. It's just absolute perfection. So we're very lucky, very happy to have him on the show. And when as soon as he releases an image for that cover, we will be sure to share it because that is a crazy get. That is a crazy store exclusive right there. So good. Thank you again to Ryan, guys. Check out stateofcomics.com. They are the real deal. But you know who else is the real deal, Chris?
Is his name Tom?
Tom Torby, you got it right. And every week, Tom produces a little segment for us called the Cosmic Minute, where he gives us a juicy nugget. That's right, a juicy nugget of comic book history. You can look at him. You can look at his Instagram feed every day. He releases a juicy nugget at Cosmic Comic History, but only on Comic Book Canon does he do the Cosmic Minute, where he shares with us from his own words, his own voice, his own face, this piece of comic book history. And this week, it's about the Black Leopard. What? You know what? Just check it out. You'll see for yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Tom from Cosmic Comic History, and this is your Cosmic Minute. And today we're talking about how T'Challa went from being the Black Panther to the Black Leopard, and then back again. In 1966, Marvel's first black character to headline their own book debuted. Created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, T'Challa, the Black Panther, was the king of the African nation of Wakanda. Shortly after the character debuted, a civil rights group of the same name emerged in the United States. And although the character came first, Stan Lee was very concerned that people would confuse the political party and the character. Marvel simply started referring to the Black Panther as the Panther, and in 1971's Fantastic Four issue 19, under direct orders from Stan Lee, writer Roy Thomas introduced us to the Black Leopard. Marvel and DC had taken a hard stance against racism in all its forms by the 1970s, but Stan Lee was worried that embracing progressive political ideas might cause Southern distributors to stop carrying their product altogether. By 1972, T'Challa had returned to his Black Panther moniker and retired his leopard leotards for good. I'm still Tom from Cosmic Comic History, and that was your Cosmic Minute. Until next week, be well and stay safe.
We love you, Tom. We love you, Tom. And what you bring to this show each and every week, fascinating stuff, Chris. The Black Leopard. The Black Leopard. Now, we can understand why they would be a little nervous delving into politics, especially like civil rights movement back in the day then. I mean, Stan Lee it seems like he always had a good head on his shoulders and knew right from wrong, knew that civil rights was the right thing to support. The Black Panther Party, though, we can get into long history of politics and things like that. That was a tough one for them, and I mean, in a way, I can understand why, because some of their, they I don't know, like they came off as kind of militant, as a militant group at times. So, but I'm glad they went back to the Black Panther.
Tom really wants to bring out the Oni in me on comic book canon with this one, because I could get. Let me tell. Look, Jeff, I got to talk about it.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have to. You know, it's just, I was born in Oakland, California, from Richmond. I worked with the Black Panthers. I worked with the Black Panthers for a few years in the early 2000s. This is the original Black Panther Party committee, the founding members, including Bobby Seale, obviously Huey, the other founding member, Huey Newton, is deceased at that point, as well as a lot of the other original members. I've read countless books written by Mumia Abu-Jamal, the autobiography of Assata Shakur. You know, that Tupac's mother was a Black Panther. And without sitting here for another hour talking about the Black Panther Party and their history and the distorted public perception from 1966 to today, I would suggest, if anybody is curious to truly understand what the Black Panther Party stood for, to do some research, because from the get, they were targeted and by the CIA and the FBI, and the media was forced to portray them as this militant group, which was not the case. They really weren't that militant of a group, and they have a 10-point program that if you guys go read, that's what they based everything off of. Did you know that the Black Panther Party free lunch for school kids is basically the root and what started the SNAP EBT food stamp program from the federal government? Did you know that? Did you know that in order to be a Black Panther member, you cannot abuse drugs and you cannot come to any Black Panther meeting or any type of organization or facility drunk or under the influence of any drugs or alcohol? Do you know that abusing women or degrading women was not allowed? Did you also know that they denounced Black nationalism? That's right. They welcomed, in what they said back then, their white, yellow, and red brothers and sisters, which, you know, nowadays we probably wouldn't use those terms, but all ethnicities and races. They denounced Black nationalism. It was about, you know, justice for the oppressed, Black folks and minorities, but everyone was an ally that wanted to work for the cause. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I know firsthand because I work directly with them. The majority of people today, in over the last 50 plus years, that think that the Black Panthers were of anything of negative just because they would carry their weapons publicly, just like any white in California. It was legal to carry your legally owned weapon in public. White people did it as well, but when Black folks did it, they got publicized as militant. They did it for self-protection, because you know what was going on back then? Black women were getting raped, and Black men were getting lynched in the streets, and young children were getting lynched in the streets. Emmett Till. Innocent people. That's the state of the world they lived in. They exercised their constitutional rights to defend themselves. So with that being said, don't take my word for it. Educate yourself properly. I think what Black Panther as a character represented in the comics represented where Stan Lee was at during those times, and what he recognized was needed during those times, not only in the comic book industry, but in the world itself. And ironically, the Black Panther film dove into so much more of that, where we understand the disconnect between Africans and Black Americans, and what that West African slave trade created and what Black oppression caused in America. And I'm sorry, I think it really, I can't wait. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But I really feel like the Black Panther film franchise is going to continue this narrative that goes outside of comics, that talks about this long history of really bridging this gap between not only Black equality in America, but bridging that gap between a people that had no choice but to be stolen from their homeland and to have forgotten and have no inclination of their history and of their culture and of where they came from, and to an African people right now that are so distant and such strangers to those distant relatives that are Black Americans today. And I really hope that Stan Lee's vision of what this character stood for can continue to bridge those gaps between Black people all around the world.
Absolutely. And I need to clarify my words. It was the perception that the Black Panther Party was militant. It was the perception. So I just needed to correct that there. I don't want to be misunderstood or misconstrued. But I can't say it any better than you have, especially since you have experience working with members of or former members of the Black Panther Party. And again, really interesting. And we don't shy away from these topics at all, as most of you have seen on some of our shows where people have gotten a little out of line in the comment section. And Tom Tormey doesn't stray from this either. So it's good to see. This is just another great example, another great episode of the Cosmic Minute from Tom Tormey. I encourage you guys to check out his Instagram each and every day, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. He usually posts a juicy nugget of comic book history. It is outstanding. So again, once again, thank you again, Tom Tormey. This was a great one. All right, but moving on, we have another great segment that we do each and every week. It's something that Chris and I love to share. We love to share our books with you all each and every week. It is called, what is it called, Chris? You kick it off.
Man, we keep it fresh all the way from the comic shop, guys.
That's right, fresh from the comic shop. Each and every week, Chris and I share with you what we picked up at the comic book shop or in the mail, right? So either or, they could be brand new issues that just came out this week, or they could be golden age from way back in the day. We are going to share them with you each and every week. But the caveat here is, if we're sharing our books with you, you need to share your books with us. So please let us know in the comment section what you guys got this week. Again, they could be anywhere from golden age to they just came out 2 days ago. So we want to hear from you. We want to see it from you on Instagram too. If you guys post on Instagram, we're going to post it up here as well. So that being the case, Chris, you're going to go first. I think you go first each and every week, but I just like going first with you.
All right.
Go for it.
It. I'm humbled.
Go for it.
All right, guys. Look. Again, I showed this off on my channel. I don't mind showing it off again for you guys on the canon. This is my character right now, guys. This is my dude. All right. So I thought I had every single book of this character because this character has such a rich history with so many keys. Cameo of this, cameo of that, changes his name. First appearance of him is this, first appearance of him is that. And I realized I don't have this one book. So I had to get it. And that's Thor 166. This is the second full appearance of him. And the bearded one knew it. He knew it. This is it, guys. I have every single key book surrounding surrounding Adam Warlock, and I had to go with the Thor 166. It's a nice higher mid-grade. I haven't cleaned it or pressed it yet. It's white cover. I am definitely going to give this a clean. Right now, I would say it's probably around a 5.5, but after a clean, I think it's definitely going to get up to at least a 6. But I'm very happy. Monster Comic Shop hooked it up, guys. So go check Monster Comic Shop out on Instagram. Really awesome deal. So I'm hyped.
Yo, that is a great key book, by the way, Chris. I'm really happy that you got that, you being the Adam Warlock aficionado. So, yeah, the bearded one did call it before you did show it, and we're happy to see that you got that. That's a sweet book, though. I really fantastic. All right, here's my deal, guys. I've been hitting some really nice pickups the past few weeks. This week, not so much. I literally only got 5 new books this week. I'm just going to share them with you, and I'm just prefacing this now because they're not super exciting, but they're all right. Anyways, with that knowledge, here we go. All right. I have to tell you, I love Peter David. I love most things that Peter David does. And I really enjoyed the Maestro series that he wrote the past 5 months. I think it was a 5-issue run on how Maestro became Maestro, how the Hulk became Maestro. So there's a new series actually that just came out called War in Packs. So this is Maestro #1, War in Packs. I haven't read it yet. Haven't had time to read it. I've only read one of these 5 books that I'm going to be sharing, but I really love this cover. I mean, look at that. Look at that cover. Absolutely gorgeous with this little crackling and glowing stuff coming out in his eyes. Anyways, so this is my first pickup that I'm sharing with you all this week. Maestro #1. I really enjoyed the previous miniseries, and we'll see how this one goes as well. It's continuing the story of Maestro, the alternative future Hulk. That is my first pickup. Chris, your turn.
I dig it. I dig it. Yeah. You know, I haven't been reading much either. I've been working really hard on prepping videos for my channel. I'm getting even more behind on my reading, but I picked this one up. I actually just did this unboxing on my live show earlier because there's so much hype around it, but I want to read the story. Love Donny Cates. Love what he's been doing. So I got a crossover #1. This is the B variant. Yeah, this has nothing to do with me trying to, you know, spec on a key book or anything like that. It's specific to the story. I want to read this. I want to know what's going on in this book. And like I said, guys, I know there was some weird speculation around the 3 circles, but that's Hyro all day, man. That's Hyro, Oakland, Cali, Hyro.
Hey, so you haven't read any of the crossover books, have you?
No.
Okay, I've read all 3 issues, and I have to say, Chris, this is just my opinion. Want to hear all y'all's opinion too, but mine is very meh.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. You know, there's a big reveal in 3 that, you know, it may be big to you. It wasn't that big to me because I wasn't invested in that character. But anyways,
Gotcha.
I am invested in this next character right here. I absolutely love the series. You guys have all heard me talk about this series. Guys, this is the 4th issue of this series. It is The Scumbag by Rick Remender, and they change artists each issue. Oh my gosh. I haven't read any of these issues this week, but this cover alone, guys, this series is fantastic. It is hilarious. It's about the worst person in the world. He's literally a scumbag, just trash, getting, you know, these crazy superpowers and having to save the world. This is him right here, basically in an orgy, all drugged up. It is hilarious. Guys, this is a great read. I encourage all of you all to pick this up. The Scumbag by Rick Remender. Absolutely. I cannot recommend this enough. This and Firepower were my 2 favorite series from last year. That's all I'll say about that. I'm going to move back on to Chris. What's your 3rd book, Chris?
I was just talking to somebody about you and Scumbag. I forget who it was.
Wait, you were associating me as a scumbag? I figure. All right, your book.
All right. Here's another one that's been on my 2021 want list, guys. I've been looking at this book for probably 3 years, and over the last year, I got really serious about looking at it, especially since the announcement of the Fox acquisition by Disney and Marvel Studios. Anything X-Men right now, guys. So I had to go with X-Men 50. 2nd appearance of Polaris. 1st cover appearance. Iconic, beautiful art on the cover, and I love green. I love Polaris. I keep saying it. I think Polaris has a good chance of showing up in the MCU sooner than later as an X-Men. Beautiful Steranko work, and this book has been on the incline or on the upline, and I again, another book that I have not cleaned yet. There's some dinge here. You can clean this off. A bit of wear, but again, another very presentable mid-grade. It does have a rip right here. I don't know if you guys can really see it. It kind of bummed me out. I would say this book is definitely a fine to a fine plus without that rip, but I bumped it down to probably a 4.5 with that rip. But if I clean it up, I hope to get it up to, at least a 5.0, but still really very well presentable book. Very happy to add this. I got her the issue 49, the first appearance sometime back. Very happy to have this now in my collection.
We have to go. take your single shot so we can see the books or each of our single. But if you could have seen my face when looking at it, I went, "Ooh, that is a beautiful looking book, man." Pete Keel, that's pretty clean. I kind of agree with that as well. It looks nice. It looks very presentable. So good work on that. All right. God, I'm just totally like devaluing myself here, and this is just underwhelming compared to your books. But here we go. Actually, it's
all unique.
It's a sweet cover, though, guys. This is a sweet cover. Here we go. My third book of the week that I'm sharing with y'all. It's a reprint, but it's an amazing cover. And this was a really hot book for many, 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 many weeks. Daredevil 25, the second print. Look at that cover of Elektra as Daredevil. Sorry if I spoiled it for anybody, but y'all should be knowing about this by now that this is happening. She's currently Daredevil and is going to be at least until issue 28, which we've seen in previews. So we shall see. But God, that cover, man, I could not pass that cover up. Beautiful. I just love her costume as Daredevil too. Really, really cool cover. So anyways, that's my third book, and Chris is going to share his fourth book. What do you got?
Hey, I love that. You know what? I ordered 3 copies of that book from State of Comics.
Did you?
.com. Yes, I did.
It comes full circle. Full circle.
Yep.
I love it.
I haven't received them yet because I ordered them with pre-orders. So I think should be shipping real soon here. But yeah, I can't wait till I get my hands on mine.
Yeah,
man, I got
it's a great cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Now, is that her first cover appearance?
What's that?
Is that technically her first cover appearance?
It would have to be. Although, has 26 come out yet? I don't know. We'd have to check to see if 26 is out, but I'm pretty sure that's her first cover appearance. It's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, we got to look into that.
All right. What do you got for your fourth book?
Yeah, speaking of beautiful covers, man, I'm going to stare at this for a little while before I share it with you guys because it's just really beautiful. This is a run that I need to catch up on reading. Alex Ross, guys. Always been one of my favorites. Captain America number 26. I mean, this looks like it should be like an exclusive variant. But this is just your standard Alex Ross doing Alex Ross stuff. Very, very beautiful. I mean, the black background, the red, the blue, oh man, what he does is amazing. You know what I like? And I'm very weird with the aesthetics like this, guys. I like what Marvel's doing with their box now. I like that it has this white border outline, and I like how the number is smaller and it has the legacy number underneath. Like, I'm telling you guys, not covers matter, but also like the title in the number box and the label box and in all of that, the logo, all of that matters to me. It really adds to the overall composition and look of the comic book, if that makes sense.
Here's the deal, and as I was watching your show, prepping for this show today, that Chris does a pregame show pretty much before our Comic Book Canon show on his channel. You shared that book. This thought came to mind, and I don't want to go too much down a rabbit hole because we're still in fresh from the comic shop, and y'all should be sharing your fresh gets too. But Alex Ross is unbelievable, right? Yeah. He is unbelievable. But there is so much Alex Ross covers, so many Alex Ross covers coming out. I feel like we take him for granted these days. Would you agree with that?
Good point. Good point. Yeah. I mean, but
he should not be taken for granted.
Yeah. But here's what I do enjoy with Alex Ross is you don't have to pay $20, $25, $50 for an Alex Ross variant. You know, he's getting work and he's doing work, and we can buy these books at cover price. And I think that's really, really cool.
I mean, he's a freaking gem. Like, he's absolutely, like, his work is just, you really can't compare it to anything else in terms of modern comic books and what people are doing. He's the only one really kind of doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's somebody else out there.
You know what? No. You're very, I agree 100%. There is one person that I will compare to him, though.
Wow. Okay.
And his name's Alex Garner.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Garner is very similar, but you know the thing with the other Alex, it's still very unique. I do believe they both use watercolor, but Alex Garner usually has a certain type of texture that's different. Where Alex Ross, and to go to what you say, like the way Alex Ross's watercolors pop Nobody's doing that. Alex Ross will, to the T, understand lighting. And he builds his covers and his art on proper lighting. And nobody else does that at all. So, other people are really good with water covers that may look granulated or more flat. With Alex Ross, you get that 3-dimensional pop. And you're right. I don't think anybody can duplicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bearded One brings up a good point. I'm blown away he can paint entire issues. I mean, Kingdom Come is an absolute classic. Like, that is it's just beautiful every panel. Every single panel. Again, we're going down a rabbit hole. This is about fresh from the comic shop, what we picked up this week. So we're going to continue moving on. This is not an Alex Ross segment, but it is Alex Ross appreciation all around for everybody. All right. Yes, B. Schnur, you're right. Boddingtons. All right. Moving on. Here's my fourth. That's a beautiful bottle of water. I think you got at Trader Joe's. Love me some Trader Joe's, guys. Love me some Trader Joe's. All right, here we go, guys. This is my fourth book of the week. I read the first issue. I thought it was okay. It wasn't bad. This is DC Future State, the next Batman. So I haven't read this issue yet, but I should have gotten cover B, guys, where Tim Fox is on the cover with his face revealed. I did not. I had the opportunity to do so, and I just didn't. But this is what I got. The next Batman, number 2. I enjoyed the featurettes that they had at the end of issue 1. I'm excited to see where this is going. Again, we want DC to succeed. As proof here, I bought this. This is an $8 book. That's pretty hefty. So we'll see. Again, this is their initiative for 2 months, January and February. And they're really making a big push for Future State. Anyways, that is my fourth book of the week. Chris is going to show his fifth and final book of the week. What do you got? Oh, wait a minute. I got a glimpse of it, guys. And this is not a rerun. You're not watching a repeat of comic book canon here, guys. This is really happening. This is really happening, and it's a problem. And I need you guys to confront Chris on this issue. Now, here we go.
Okay, look. I won't. I'm trolling. I won't make this be my last pick. We all know I have a problem. So
no, do it.
That was
the book in your hand. That was the book in your hand. You know what? That was the book in your hand. This is not fair.
It just goes to show how addicted I am. Look, I want this to be an Alex Ross tribute. Now I can't even talk. Now you got me tongue-tied because I'm so tied into my Warlock Infinity Watch books. But I was just really wanting to troll you guys because I do want this to be a segment of Alex Ross. Can I show off one more Alex Ross cover for my fifth book?
You don't have to ask. This is your show too, man.
All right, because I know if I continued with the Infinity Watch book, I would probably have people banging down my door, bringing me down to the psycho ward before the show ended. So, or the rehab facility, guys. But you know what? Let's just go with one more Alex Ross book, guys. Iron Man #1 wraparound. Now, Jeff, it was you talking about this Iron Man series that made me buy this book because I want to start reading it. But how about some more Alex Ross goodness, guys? Look at this beautiful wraparound cover. Again, the colors, the lighting just pops. You can dive right in to this book. My goodness. What a beauty.
Yo, man,
that's beautiful.
Like, I got the timeless variant. I just couldn't pass that one up. I didn't want to get both. But that cover is what I'm talking about. That's something special. And this guy's delivering something special 4 times a month, basically, right? And I feel like it's going to be, and again, I want him to pump this stuff out. The guy, this is Alex Ross appreciation. But I think I'm worried about us taking him for granted. And I don't know where the line is drawn where it's like, slow down with the Alex Ross covers. But you can't because he's so good. He's so good. You're not going to disagree with me. Anyways.
Nope.
Here is my fifth book of the week. It's one that probably most of you have. It's quite interesting, especially the end. I'm not going to get into spoilers here. But this is King in Black #3. I know Chris is probably waiting on his issue. There is a spoiler cover that shows something interesting that happens between Null and Thor. But this is the only one actually I did read. It was pretty good. This has been pretty good. I haven't gotten any of the tie-ins or anything like that, but King in Black has been a pretty good series. I pick up Venom as well, so it's been interesting. I'm really intrigued as to how this will end. There's a lot of speculation. That's what I'm totally into. Who is the God of Light? Who is going to be able to stand up to Null and just completely stop this invasion of Earth? It's something I'm super excited about. And if you guys got this and read #3, please let us know what you thought. But that is my 5th and last book of the week. That there, Chris, concludes Fresh from the Comic Shop. We'll have some new pickups next week. I can guarantee you that. And who knows, maybe Chris will have 5 new issues of Warlock and the Infinity Watch #1. It's quite possible. It is. Show it, Chris. Just this is your extra book. This is
The greatest book in the world. My precious.
That's an issue. Anyways, here we go though. That's Fresh from the Comic Shop. But right now, our next segment is more comic book stuff. Here we go. Because it is, what is it, Chris? It is the top 10 hottest comics of the week based off of Cover Price's data. That's right. Cover Price releases a list, a top 10 hottest comics list. I've had too many Boddingtons at this point, I think. A top 10 hottest comics list on Monday. Our show is on Friday. But we like to dissect this list. Not only dissect it, Chris picks out the 3 books, sometimes more than that, but 3 choices that stick out to him in this specific top 10 list. And here we go. We are going to read that list to you. Oh, we're going to have to read it to you, Chris. Do you believe this? I did not get that asset ready with all the top 10 hottest comics, but I'm going to read it to y'all right here.
Let's do
At
it.
number 10, we got Star Wars Tales from the Clone Wars webcomic collection trade paperback. Number 9, we have King in Black, Gwenom vs. Carnage, the Inyuk Lee 1 in 25. There's some beautiful covers with that number 1. At number 8, we have Serial #1. I'm seeing a lot of postings on that one. Number 7 is Amazing Spider-Man number 55. This is, I think, 3 or 4 weeks going strong with that iconic cover. It's iconic. It's been out for less than a month. Number 6 is Future State Teen Titans #1, the Dustin Nguyen B variant, which has that character from Go Titans, the Red X. At number 5 is Star Wars The High Republic #1, the cover A. Number 4 is Star Wars The High Republic, the Hans variant, Stephanie Hans variant. This seems to be the winner out of all of the variants that we've seen from Star Wars. I think that cover B is the winner in my opinion. I like that cover more than others. At number 3 is Port of Earth #1, Image 2017. And number 2 is #1, Image from Image Comics. That is a hot book with clowns. At number 1 is Future State Teen Titans #1, the A variant. All right, Chris. Now that we've just recited all 10, I apologize for not having an image that we normally do there. Now that we just recited all 10, you're going to get into the 3 most interesting issues you see from this list. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out first and foremost before I go into my 3 to the independent books that made the list this week. We haven't had independents in a few weeks. Marvel's been just killing it. It's been hard for DC to get on there. So big shout out. I always want to support independents for doing their things, guys. But there's 2 things that I wanted to focus on with this list, guys. One is just the craziness of Star Wars. And this goes into my number 3 pick. I picked Star Wars Tales from the Clone Wars webcomic collection. This is a trade paperback, guys. This book is like doing things that I've never seen before with trades. Now let's get one thing straight. Let's put it into context. This book is a collection of individual issues that were released via online as ebooks. All right, they were not published as single issues. So that's why this trade has been getting hot. It's got the first appearance of Cade Bane, the first canon appearance of Ahsoka, which this is really confusing to me, and I wish we had here today because I know he could really break this down because, you know, I just this whole canon thing right now is a bit of convoluted mess to me. It's hard for me to figure it out. Okay. Any diehard EU Star Wars fan is probably going to say the same thing. It's making my head hurt. But anyways, moving on. You know, it's got first canon appearance of Captain Rex, origin of General Grievous, first unmasked General Grievous as well. So this book, guys, sold for $500 raw for a trade paperback. Who says that trades aren't collectibles, guys? But like I said, it is unique because, you know, it's a collection that was not released in floppy single issues. First, before this, it just goes to show, guys, Star Wars is going crazy right now. And I thought it was really cool to see something like really different and really interesting on this top 10 list, you know, because really we deal with single issue comic books. This is a trade paperback and it's up there and it's sold for $500 raw. That blows my mind.
This is our 36th episode we've done. All right. It's not, you know, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, it's not that much, but 36 episodes we've done, and we've done this top 10 comics list every episode. We've never covered a trade paperback, let alone a trade paperback that went for $500. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, is Star Wars hot? Is it fair to say Star Wars is hot?
Telling you, man, it's like blue flame, white flame hot, you know?
Insane. Yep. Speaking of Star Wars, that's me teeing you up for the next one, Chris.
Yeah. So I do got another Star Wars book on my list. I want you guys to focus on two things for these two books, though. Okay, my number 2 and my number 1 picks, and that's Burnout. We're going to talk a little bit about Burnout because remember, guys, I don't pick top 3 just based on, oh, these are selling for the most money or these were number 1 in units sold. I like to really look at a different, multiple different variables of why these books are hot and trending and so forth. And then I like to talk about them. But number 2 is Star Wars: The High Republic, number 1. Okay. Now, obviously, this was my number 1 pick last week. All the variants were up there in the top 10. It dominated. It sold so well. But then we go into the second week, and it's still at 110% increase in sales, guys. That is big. That is big. How do you top your first week and top it by, you know, getting another 110% increase? Blowing my mind here, guys. A high CGC sale, 9.8 sold for $150. Look, Star Wars. I just said it before with the trade paperback. Star Wars is going nuts. But here's what I want you guys to focus on. Is what is happening with this book going to cause some type of burnout? All right. Now let's pause on that because I want to talk about my number 1 book before I go into that. Jeff, you got any comments to add to that?
I mean, no, the fact that this has increased in sales 110% is kind of insane. Like that's kind of unheard of for the number 1 book from last week. Right. And I only see up and up for High Republic, especially because the Acolytes, the series that they announced at the Investors Day, Disney's Investors Day, is going to cover part of the High Republic or some sort of it. So maybe we'll see some of these characters. Once we start hearing word on what that's going to be, I mean, Jesus, this thing is just not going to stop. And, you know, we're hearing crazy numbers already for second and third prints, as well as second issues and variants that haven't even come out yet. It's blown all of our minds. And I feel like it's something we haven't seen before, but I'm teeing you up for what you want to talk about with this number 1 pick here. So go for it.
Let's go with number 1, guys. Now, again, big shout out to DC. Lots of Marvel competition with Marvel and Star Wars material. My number 1 pick is Future State Teen Titans number 1. This is the first appearance of the Future State Red X in cameo, last page cameo. Highest selling book in terms of units sold for the week. All right, and a high raw sold for $24. All right, I picked this book because I wanted to showcase the fact. Number 1, highest selling book of last week, and it's selling for $24, and it just came out. I believe the cover price $5.99 if I'm not mistaken. I was in a Facebook chat forum just this week about how all this stuff is ruining comics. You know, we know that a first appearance is coming. People are buying this comic because they don't want to read it. They just want to speculate and buy 20 copies and flip it because, oh, this character Red X is appearing in Cameo and stuff like that. And the price is being boosted up to $24. It's a popular opinion that when that happens, and if the price goes down, it's going to cause burnout for collectors and it's going to destroy the hobby. Here's what I have to say to that, guys. This has been going on for decades. People hype up books. Right now, maybe it's Key Collector. All right. 5 years ago, maybe it was previews. 25 years ago, maybe it was Wizard. 35 years ago, maybe it was Overstreet articles or just sitting in your comic shop talking to the LCS workers about what the next hot book's going to come out is going to be. Because I know when I was in the 80s, I knew when Venom was coming. We knew when Carnage was coming. We knew so much about those books back then that Marvel had the second print silver covers waiting. They had them waiting. Guys, this has been going on forever. And I'm telling you right now, the majority of collectors are not getting burnout. You know who's getting burnout? The people getting burnt because they miss out. People that are buying these books when they come out and they're paying $10, $15, $20, $25, $50 for a book that just came out the day before or the weekend for, like the Amazing Spider-Man 55. Do you know, even if those prices come down, and we can look at even High Republic, even if those prices do drop, I would like to know how many of those collectors that pay that much money are going to be burnt out and are going to want to leave the hobby because, well, I paid $25 for this book. Now it's only worth $10. You know how I would answer that? None. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to sit on the next book that's going to be sitting hyped up and they're going to go spend $25, $50 on that one. And they're not going to care because they're going to keep doing it because that's how they enjoy the hobby. That's how they enjoy it. Not you, not me, them. And they're going to keep doing it. The only people that are getting burnt are the ones mad sitting at home because they didn't read the previews book that told them that there's a new Star Wars book coming out and it's going to have a whole shitload of first appearances in it. And they didn't go buy it at 35% off cover price or call their LCS and tell them to put it in their pull list. They're the ones that are hopping on social media saying, $25 for this book. People are going to get burned and they're going to spend that money. And then when it drops back down to $10 your cover price, they're going to be mad. It's going to ruin the hobby. No, they're not. They have it for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the deal. Oh, look at the Comic Forge is here. I just want to say what's up to the Comic Forge. Thanks for joining us. Here's the deal. Peak heel, pump and dump. I'm just wondering if he's referring to Star Wars there because I don't see a pump and dump situation here at all. I don't see it with High Republic at all. I see this only. I mean, who knows? We could be wrong, but I'll tell you, time will tell. But I think time will be on the side of the Star Wars and all of the fans who are not comic book fans that are going to be dying for these issues. I'll tell you that. And all transparency, I have a few issues of all of the covers, which is fine, but I have no agenda here, right? I'm a huge fan. I'm excited for where this is going. Chris and I have always said there's more meat on the bone with Star Wars, and it will only get more popular. It will only get more popular because of us old heads who have enjoyed it from day one to my 5-year-old daughter who now enjoys Star Wars. We watched a ton of Baby Yoda videos this morning. She knows every character, and she's a Darth Vader fan. She's 5 years old, so it's not going anywhere. But with this specific title, time will tell.
Yeah, I have to echo that with Star Wars. Star Wars is its own beast right now. You know, it's doing something else. But when we talk about, you know, these books getting hyped up and, you know, being sold above cover price, literally like on Wednesday, the day they come out, or the days following, and the whole pump and dump thing. Like, look, I really think, you know, pump and dump, that term to me is like calling any corporation like, you know, a bad business or something just because it's a corporation, just because it's had success. Here's the thing with pump and dump. You and me have as much capability of buying 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 copies of a book. We have just as much ability to buy multiple copies of a book at 35% off cover price. I can literally, I could, if I wanted to. I read the previews book. I knew what was, previews come out 3 months. The books come out 3 months before the release of the book. They pair up when previews orders from my comic shop, Midtown, and all these sites release their preview sales at 35% off. I sit there with my previews books while I'm doing my previews order 3 months before they come out. I easily could have went and put 20 to 30 or 50 books of High Republic in my cart and got them at 35% off. And then once I had them, I could have done what I wanted to them. So this idea of pump and dump, and I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody right now. Call it what you want, but look, it's a free market. It's a free market. So if you don't care about owning multiple copies of a book for whatever reason, if you don't care about owning multiple copies because you want to flip and make money, and all you care about is owning a copy because you're a simple collector, maybe you want to read the book, or maybe you just like Star Wars and you want at least one copy of the book, then you should have no problem with somebody else buying up a bunch of copies with other people, hyping it up to where after the day of release, it's a $20 book. You should have no problem with that because you already secured your one copy from your local LCS or from your previews orders. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're that, don't hate the player, hate the game, 100% Comic Forge. Because if you're that big of a comic book or a Star Wars fan, you know good and well 3 months in advance. And this, not even 3 months in advance. We're talking 6 months in advance. That this comic book, this High Republic, this series is coming out. It is on you. If you don't get your issue, if you think you're just going to walk right into the store, 2 days after New Comic Book Day and going to pick up your, that's on you. You make sure it's on your pull list. You make sure you get it online. You have many ways of finding out where and when you need to pick that up. I'll tell you what, there are also some outlets that are selling these for 99 cents. Westfield Comics is selling these for 99 cents. They are not guaranteeing these orders. They're trying to fulfill every one, but they're trying to get those variants out there to make even more money. So guys, it is on you. So you cannot complain if you don't pick this up.
Yeah. So, hey, I know this, we're talking about top 10 and hot books, but I like to dive into these things because we're not just sitting here saying, oh, this book's hot. We got to add context, and I'm not going to add context like anyone else. I'm going to add my own context. I talk about it how I like to talk about it. And this goes to the state of the hobby, the health of the hobby. And, even though I may be, it may seem like I'm kind of getting aggressive to a certain population of collectors, right? That may disagree with me or may believe in this, pump and dump hype, or maybe they really think this is ruining the hobby. This isn't good for the hobby. I know I get passionate, and I know I like, I get the way I get, and I talk about it the way I talk about it, but I do it. I really talk about this stuff because I want you guys to really question your own, belief system, and to educate yourselves on a business level, and to really look in the mirror and reflect on why it bothers you so much. Where all these, the industry's dying and all this stuff. I really want you to reflect on that. This book being hot, Teen Titans, let's talk about the Teen Titans Future State book being hot because there was a cameo first appearance and it's already selling for $24 a week after the release. Doesn't bother you. It does not get in the way of how you want to collect. And if you really feel aggravated by it, you really have to ask yourself why. Because I'm going to end on this note, guys, by saying this. everything that a lot of these people are pointing fingers at, pump and dump, or, all these new books already being sold at, above cover price. And it's just speculators buying multiple books and all this stuff. And, apps like Key Collector hyping it up and all this stuff. If all of that went away, every single book that you own right now, you'd wake up tomorrow and they would be worthless. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you really think like that, if you really hate, speculators and people buying books and the fact that the market puts a book at $25 a day after it release, if you're really mad at all that, then you would be 100% okay going to bed tonight, getting all comfy, getting on your nice, pillow, getting covered up in the blankets. Maybe you put on some of that tranquil meditation music and you get the best night's sleep of your life. And that means you're going to be okay waking up in the morning. Oh, today's a great day because every comic book I own is now worth a penny. Think about it, guys. Think about it.
All right. And that is our top 10 hottest comic books of the week. We're glad you joined us for this week. There will be a brand new list next week that we will have plenty to talk about. That's right, guys. We have been going at the show for 2 hours. 2 hours. That's what happens when we have a guest interview that just kind of blew our minds. That shop is awesome, stateofcomics.com. So we really appreciate y'all for sticking around through this whole show with us. It is a blast. It is a pleasure. It is something we don't take for granted. We really enjoy spending these Friday nights with you. But we're winding down the show now. We're a little bit tired. Chris has been going at this for about 3-4 hours now because he had his previous show. So I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart that we get to talk about comic books each and every week with you. We don't take you for granted, even though hopefully we also don't take those Alex Ross covers for granted, even though they're coming out fast and furious. Chris, what are your final thoughts for this show this week?
My final thoughts for the show. My final thoughts for the show are WandaVision's amazing.
Yes.
State of Comics is a website that if you don't check out by the end of tonight, I'm going to haunt you in your dreams.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up. Go ahead. Stateofcomics.com. Check it out.
Yes. And lastly, my last final thoughts of this is I really do love all you guys. I really do. I know I get animated and I know I talk about what I talk about, but I'm here to challenge you guys. I'm here to challenge you for the betterment of this community. We're in a new year. We're all here together, enjoying the hobby. We all collect for different reasons, just like we, enjoy different types of music and different types of foods. And, we're different people, but we have a lot in common. Let's unite on what we have in common. Let's respect our differences. But let's try to remember one thing, guys. This hobby is here right now, and it's not going anywhere. Let's enjoy what we enjoy out of it. And as long as we keep putting that positive energy into it, the hobby itself is going to keep returning that positivity back to us. That's my final thoughts for tonight.
Well said. Absolutely well said. Guys, do us a favor, though. Please like, subscribe, and if you can share, we would be very appreciative. We are also on Instagram, comicbookcanon.com or comicbookcanon. We really appreciate, again, spending this time with you each and every Friday night. Next week, again, brand new show. We'll have a guest as well, Newbie Comics. He'll be joining us to talk this hobby that we love. Be sure to share with us next week your fresh from the comic
shop.
Gosh, I'm tongue-tied. It's been a long one as well. Be sure to share those with us as well. We'll remind you on Instagram too. But please like, subscribe, share, and be safe, be healthy, have a great rest of your week. Just love each other. We love you guys, and we are very happy to be able to share this each and every Friday. Until next Friday, have a good one and take care.